In tonight's Biz Blitz, your iPhone could be the reason that you're starving waiting for a table at a restaurant, because more restaurants are blaming these mobile devices for long waits, saying customers just fiddling around too much and then everybody else can't get a table. We're back with our Fox Biz All-Stars to talk about this, Hadley, Scott, and Carrie. So, Hadley, is this, I don't know, just the new world we live in, or what are we to make of it?
I think cell phones are a great invention. They've improved our lives a lot, but I think when it's mealtime, can you set the phone down for a second? I mean, this isn't really about who's got the right to bring their cell phone where. To me, this is an issue of common courtesy. Don't be social with your Facebook friends while we're having dinner. Be social with me. You know, if you're out to eat with me, let's talk.
Right, I hear you. I could see Scott Martin. I mean, you girls would probably agree with this. If you go to the restaurant, there's Scott with some of his annoying friends that he works with. He's on the, he's just waiting for the table the whole time. It's like there's an hour left. The dinner's going on. The dessert's already been served. They just keep ordering drinks, and they're all on their phones, not even talking to each other. Is that really, that's what goes on out in wherever you are, Chicago, or?
Yeah, wherever I am. No, not with all these annoying TV hosts. I'll tell you what it is, Connell, is that, you know what's funny about these restaurants that are complaining about this, guys? These are restaurants that are using technology themselves. You know, their waiters or waitresses are using iPads to put the orders in, or they have Wi-Fi in the restaurant. So you're asking for it either way. Most of us that I know are going out, having dinner. If you got kids, you're definitely not sticking around and playing around with devices. You're heading out of there and going home.
By the way, I like it when they use the technology in the restaurant. This is a completely off-topic comment, but nothing drives me more crazy than when the waiter or waitress tries to memorize your order. I hate that because there's always inevitably mess it up. So use technology the right way. Carrie, what about using their phones at the table while you're waiting for a table? Does it drive you crazy, or?
Well, I think in general, so you showed the data of the times being longer for people eating. I think it has more to do with people just eating more. Look at our obesity rates in this country. I think people are just eating more. I think that's the real reason. But I also think people are taking pictures of their food. Right. They're taking selfies of the food, and this is part of the phone problem. And, I mean, I think restaurants, they're private places. I say boot people out.
I do agree, by the way. It's not necessarily cause and effect on all these things.
Right.
And I'm the worst offender for some of these things, on the phones at least. But
You're selfie with your food?
Number two. I'm not, who takes pictures of their food? No, I'm not doing that at all. Pictures of my food. Issue two is Staples. Staples waving the white flag, the office supply retailer ending plans to launch many post offices in its stores after the unions immediately protested that. The unions say those jobs would unfairly go to, well, non-union workers. You guessed it. Carrie, your thoughts on this one?
Well, I tell you, there was a point where unions played a useful role. In the days of Cesar Chavez, for example, there were flagrant abuses. This is in a manufacturing-based economy. But our economy has totally evolved. We're an information-based economy. And unions are pretty much obsolete. And now they say that they're progressive, but they're actually very regressive. They hold back the economy. They killed these jobs at Staples. This is the case in point.
It is. That's a legitimate point, Hadley, isn't it, that Carrie makes, is that when we have stories about unions, are they working as maybe they were years ago? Are they always working in their own self-interest even when they think they are? Or are they kind of hurting themselves sometimes by making these types of arguments?
I think they are self-serving, absolutely, especially in this case. It's not just the people who are losing the jobs that are losing out, but it's the consumer. I mean, our consumer experience to go to Staples and be able to get those mailing services there, that's something we all miss out on. They're trying to keep their monopoly on mailing services at the USPS.
Saying, is that even possible, Hadley? My point is, like, even though they're trying to be self-serving, at the end of the day, this is hurt themselves because everything's got to be a fight, whereas you don't give in.
Well, they hurt their image. Absolutely, they hurt their image. I think more and more the public is becoming doubtful that unions actually serve the public interest. They're really just serving the interests of their own.
Scott?
Well, I think to that point, too, if you take the post office services out of Staples, then you lose your customers. I mean, it's a great example of the government telling a private industry how they should do their business. The USPS is losing billions of dollars a quarter. They're becoming more and more irrelevant. So this is another area that they don't have any legroom to stand on. It
is kind of a couple of it's the Postal Service. Every story we have about them for the last however many years is about how it's a declining business, right, Carrie? And then the union movement, which hasn't exactly been faring so well
lately either. No, this could have been an entry point. I mean, the Postal Service has been bleeding red ink. A friend of mine tried to start a business. He was featured on Fox and the Wall Street Journal called Outbox, and the Postal Service just totally killed it. They were trying to work with the Postal Service to bring digital service, to digitize people's mail, and the Postal Service totally killed it, largely because of the unions there, too.
It's interesting, Hadley, the Postal Service, to kind of extend that topic. However many years from now, when we're all complaining about Scott, and the wait times at the restaurants, will there even be a post office? Is it going to get to that point? Is that your view on that kind of larger story?
Well, we certainly do have options outside of the USPS now. I mean, if we want to FedEx something, we can send things FedEx. So there will be more and more options for people, and that competition is going to come from outside. I'm afraid without government support and government subsidies, the USPS would already be extinct. But sadly, we're paying for it, whether or not we actually send stuff by mail.
I know. We have just a couple of minutes. I'm just going to call a quote-unquote sports-related audible here. And just, Scott, I'm curious what you think about it. And we could all kind of weigh in on it. Pete Rose was on earlier, right? The All-Star Game's on tonight. Are you a Pete Rose guy, Scott, that he should be in the Hall of Fame after hearing what he said on this show and other things? Or?
Well, I owe you a post, Connell, because you're being so nice. But you know what? I grew up near Cincinnati, and Pete Rose and a lot of my friends, we grew up kind of with Pete Rose. You know, we went to the games and watched him, and he was a source of a lot of joy for us growing up. So, yeah, he should be. And I think the point was well made. I like Nelson Cruz, too. I like some of these guys that did the PEDs, not really Barry Bonds. But listen, I'll tell you what, these guys get 50 games, and Pete Rose gets 25 years or so. That seems greatly unfair. I got a lot of tweets about it, when I said we'd be interviewing him tonight. And what do you think, Carrie? Or do you care about Pete Rose?
I haven't.
You don't have to.
I don't know much about baseball.
You don't have to.
My only knowledge about baseball is the fact that my name is Carrie Sheffield, and Gary Sheffield sounds very similar. And I used to be so proud of that, but then he came out that he was potentially using drugs, and I said, "You're ruining the brand
Gary,
here."
who? You're ruining the brand, Gary. Don't do this to me. Hadley, Pete Rose, Hall of Fame, yes or no?
You know, I will reserve my vote about whether or not he's a Hall of Famer, but I do think when it comes to the abuse, it's really the punishment doesn't fit the crime in this case. I think there's a double standard at work, and I think that's the heart of the issue. That's the problem. Yeah,
that's what we were talking about earlier. I think I tend to agree, and I think that even if he wasn't reinstated into baseball to be part of the sport and work in it or something, that you could still be, that they could find a way to split the two, and maybe he goes to Cooperstown because he's one of the great players of all time. Hey, great session from our All-Stars. Thank you very much to all of you for coming on, and coming up, is the Obama administration the most transparent in American